Hey guys, we're in Tompkins Square Park today, and today we're going to be talking about the bed. Last time we did the frame, and if the frame is straight and true, and you've done all that work already, you want the foundation, which must be the bed, to be flat, level, and sturdy and secure. When you work with a glass plate, let's say a mirror for example, you put it on your bed and you put the clamps in the back, and then you'll notice the front, there's a gap. And the minute you put the clamps down, it's now totally flat. Well, it's not flat. It's conforming to the aluminum bed. So there's a slight possible, warp or bent someplace. Very slight, but it's there, okay? When you have a big, heavy tooling plate, it ain't gonna bend. And that's why most 3D printers have 4 points and up to 6 points, like the tronxy does, because they use such thin aluminum that the whole thing can bend. It can either bend this way or that way, or it can buckle up that way, buckle up this way, and that's why you have these middle points here to bring the center down, to bring the corners down. So you have to do a lot of going back and forth and working the knobs. Now, as far as springs, manual leveling, I'm not crazy about. I did that for many years. It works great until you have to move the printer. If you have to move the printer, something gets miscued, misaligned, you get a print that's stuck hard, you try to scrape it off, you start banging it, the Z is gonna go off or something's gonna go off. And then you have to readjust everything all over again. But people say, oh, it's so easy, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to put a auto level on either. It saves you millions of headaches. Matter of fact, my last 2 printers I've had 0 springs or any type of leveling control. All I've had was BL touch, push the button, it levels, I'm good to go. People say you need to have springs on the bed. Why? If your bed's level with a leveler, why do you need springs in it? I don't know. By the way, shoot me a comment. I promise I'll answer you back. The most important thing you're gonna learn today is measure twice, cut once, or drill once. You're gonna see why today. I'm Tommy Gunn, and I make things. And today, we're gonna make the VZbot bed. Let's get building. Midwest. Midwest is a company, guess where they're from? The Midwest.
The White Walkers.
I ordered a custom built plate, and the way they shipped it was in this cardboard box with this little platform. So if our nice mailman drops it, it's not going to dent the edges. It's great. See that? UPS, nothing. Let's take a look exactly, see what we got over here. So I'm going to slice my fingers there because I don't want to go to the hospital today. That'd be great, huh? Okay. And we get like Christmas here. Yeah, the Midwest Steel Company, they don't do metric, so I had to order a 13 by 13 by something piece of metal here. And now it has this blue tape. I'm going to take one side off and let's see what it looks like underneath. They said it may have some scratches, which I don't really care, but ooh, let me get rid of this here so you can see. The edges are a little bit, I would say, rough, sharp. All right, so I have my 330 by 330 millimeter plate ready to go. It's almost 1/4 inch thick. There's a couple ways you can measure this out. And I found, or somebody has sent me the blueprints on where the holes go. And I'll put a link in the description where the holes go. But it's pretty simple. It's 4 millimeters from the edge, and the middle hole is 160 millimeters from in the middle. This plate is pretty big, pretty thick. It's not going to flex. Do I need 6 holes in this? No. I'm going to put 4 just for the hell of it and 1 over here for the center. I think I only need a 3-point system, so I'll have 1 over here and over here, so I can actually just balance it, from one side only. You'll see what I'm talking about when I balance it later on and get this thing level. The reason why I'm going for a thicker plate, you can see how thick that is, right? And it's like you got to be King Kong to bend that. Is if you look at the plate that comes with the tronxy, it's a very thin, heated aluminum plate here. Now the problem with this, once it gets heated up and leveling, it's never going to be level because it's so thin. See how thin it is? Watch. If I do this, you can actually start seeing how much it can warp. You see that pretty easily. You slow spring. And I don't have the proper heating bed, so I'm going to use this bit for now, and I'm going to use these things over here. This is a drill and tap and chamfer all in one. I'm not sure if you can see it, but the beginning part is a drill. The second part over here, right, is to make the threads for a screw. And then the third part over here makes that little indentation, so if you put like a certain type of screw in it, it's going to be flush. So you can see how it's like chamfered a little bit of an angle. It's a 3-in-1. When you use these things, you have to use some sort of lubricant and go at a certain speed, because if you go too fast, you can break these things. Okay, all right, so in order to make these holes, I'm going to use this M4. It's a little bit bigger than it should be. Actually, that would work. That would work. We're going to use an M4, and if we have to make these holes bigger, we will. We're going to need a caliper. We're going to need some clamps. We're going to need some sort of marker, and blueprints, sandpaper, and we're going to need a deburrer. Okay, so let's measure out. I'm not sure if you can see this on my calipers. We're going to bring it out to 4 millimeters. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing along all 4 corners. You know, I could even, if I wanted to, I can actually even scratch a line there. Oh, that's even better. So I just did there. I just made a little tiny scratch. And where that line intersects is where I got to drill. Scratch. Like that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. And you see a little X right there? It's perfect. Now, I'm going to, as I said before, I'm going to do like a third hole. 165 millimeters in and 4 millimeters off the edge. So that's basically it for the measuring. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to make a little divot hole. And I'm going to try and go slow at first, see if I can actually make a better mark. But before I do so, you know, it becomes a point it gets too hot. So you want to have a little bit, like, make it frictionless. And I'm going to spray a little oil on that. Let me see what I've done so far here. I need something to clean this up with. Okay, it's going through. I want to make sure I don't want to break these tips. That's what it is. I'm going that too fast. All right, so I've gotten to the point where I reach the threads. So I'm going to be really careful with this here. I'm going to shoot a couple of little pumps here. And I got to the camper part. Now I need to like reverse it so I can go out, so I don't ruin. And I go forward again. Back. That came out. So let me see if I can do this manually here. Okay. Let me wipe this through. Okay, so guess what? It works. In the right direction. All right, so I'm gonna go back out. And I'm gonna get a little bit more speed on that. Other way. Oops. So what I'm doing here, in case this happens to you, is I'm unscrewing it backwards by going lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. There you go. Now, if you have a drill press, these may work okay for 10 bucks, right? But when you're doing it manually, it's really hard to keep the thing steady and going back and forth, but it can be done. Okay, the first mistake I made with this plate over here was that I forgot I bought this a while ago, and it's 13 by 13 inches, not 330 by 330. Now, the documents I have over here was for a 330 measurement. So, I drilled the holes wrong. Dumb mistake, okay? So, what I should have done, and I'm going to do now, is lay this plate over and then either trace the holes, make little divots or something. But I got a great idea. I'm waiting for my silicone heat bed, but in the meantime, what I want to do is I want to use the tronxy heat bed. So if I get these clips over here, I can clip the metal bed to the heating bed. I'm sorry, I can clip on the metal plate like it was a piece of glass on top of the heating bed. So we're going to take these little clips over here and let's see what happens. Okay, you ready? All right, here we go. First clip on. Now this bed is a little bit thicker than a piece of glass, so let's see what happens over here. All right, so we're going to put this on. Clip one. Okay. I'm going to go for clip number two. Oops, hold on. Shoot. I don't want to rip this thing in the bottom. Okay, where am I going to stick this? Okay, I'll stick it over the hole for now, so I can't put a screw in. But let's see if that holds up. Okay, so okay, it's going right over there. Now I'm going to put the other clip on the other side. Oh, get this thing out of here. Oh, all right. I'm going to put it in the middle and move some of this insulation off. Okay, so we got that. Oh, damn it. Okay, got this clip on the bottom and a clip on the side. You don't want to put it on the top by those wires because you'll get a short circuit. There we go. So this looks absolutely what the hell? Okay, change of strategy here now. We're gonna go back to plan A, which is we're gonna drill some holes into the bed plate. Okay, I've already drilled size M4s into the tronxy heating bed over here, which are much thicker than the M3s. Now the M3s, you can see as it fits perfectly. Okay, so now look at the M3s. What happens to them? They get all bent and twist out of shape. You know, they're too thin. They're absolutely too thin. Now I don't like springs. I'm going to show you why. Okay, first, it's cavernous. You know, you're gonna have this little tiny spring on this thin piece of screw. Okay, it can wobble, it can jiggle, it can move about, it can bend. You do not want that. Okay, even if it was an M4 screw, there's still plenty of wiggle room between the springs and the screws. And then on top of that, you know, if it's going pretty fast, it can, you know, warp back and forth. You don't want that. Okay, I prefer the silicone or no springs, just lock it down tight. And I'll go into that later on. Okay, so now let's get this plate over here and let's trace some holes up. Okay, so first I'm going to line it up and then mark some holes. Okay, one hole, and then we're going to mark another hole over here, and so on and so on. We'll do all the holes that way. Okay, cut. Now, once I got the holes marked, I'm going to make myself more secure and put little divot holes so I know exactly where to drill. Give a little tap. I should get a hammer. You know, I keep using these tools that are not meant to be hammers as a hammer. Okay, so now that looks pretty good. Okay, all set and done. Okay, over here I lost some footage, but this is all I got here. It's a long story, but basically it's just drilling holes next to the other holes I had and making sure they don't get too elongated, too wide. So I start with a smaller drill bit and I work my way up slowly so I can actually get through it without slipping into the big hole. It's just basically drill, 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 break a bit, break a bit. I broke about 2 on these things over here. So, but I was able to get 3 holes. So these drill bits, they break pretty easily, especially the M3s. The M4s broke on me too. I'm not sure, is it because of my inexperience using with these, or should I be using something like a drill press with these that has a more steadier, level, and even pressure. So anyway, in the end, it worked out. You know, I was able to get what I wanted, and you'll see that in a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going for the final hole over here. I break all the way through, and I'm good. So now I just reverse it, and I come back out, and I'll put a chamfer on it later on. Okay, so that one's done. Wipe it out, see how good it looks. It looks pretty clean. Line it up with this heat bed and see what happens. Put a little electric screwdriver on it. Zap, 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 and here we go. That should work. Yep, I'm feeling on the bottom side. You know, I don't need to go all the way through, but yeah, that's good. So that lines up, and I'll check the other ones here. So now I'm going to chamfer this one over here, and I think this is an M9 bit over here. So it has a wider tip, but I don't have to do too much before it actually makes a little chamfer, as you can see if I brush it away. You see that? Okay, let's get to the frame. So we have 360s and 260 aluminum extrusions. All right, I got these from zyltech.com, and they're in the United States, dirt cheap. Here's a little issue I had over here. Okay, you see this over here? It's the short piece is supposed to go sideways. Okay, and I got this little L bracket, and for some reason it doesn't go down. I'm trying to fit it, only goes this way here, which I don't want. I want it to go on the side of the long piece. So I'm trying to figure this out. I thought I ordered the wrong piece, because that still doesn't go to the right place. That's not right. So, and after about a few minutes of playing with this, I figured out one thing. If you flip it over like that and you put it in here, and guess what? Bob's your uncle, because look at that. Look at that. So now all you gotta do is line it up. Get your little tiny little bushing screw over here. You don't want to use little M4, M3 screws. You want to use this little thing here. Just put in the tip of your hex driver, and then aim it in. It's not going to fall out. Just put it in and start screwing it down. I'm using the metal bed plate because I know it's a super flat surface. I'm tightening it, but not super tight yet. I'll do my final tightening once I got everything again squared. If I need something square, I'm going to use my square tool. Okay, I'm also going to use my bed plate because that's super flat. So let me tell you about these extrusions that I got from zyltech.com. These were dirt cheap. It came out to be like $8 for the frame and $1.50 per cut. They don't do blind joints, and they don't tape out the holes on the ends. You have to do that yourself. So props to these guys for doing great service. You can reach out to other people. I do not recommend you cutting your own extrusions unless you have the proper tools, like a good miter saw and the right blade, and you experience with this. Blind joints, yeah, you can go at it. You want the rods to be perfectly cut and in line. So if you can get them custom cut, go for it. It's definitely worth it. However, if you do not have a thick aluminum plate, do you need this frame? No, you do not. You can use the default tronxy bed and the default tronxy frame until you upgrade later on, and then you'll upgrade to this frame if you want. You can still use the tronxy bed and frame, but you may want to upgrade certain things and avoid doing certain things. For instance, on the smooth rods, you have to screw them into the extrusion, and when you do that, the rods are too short, so you wind up buckling them a little bit. So you do not want to do that. There are some parts on Thingiverse that you can use. We'll go into that when we get to the Z part later on. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to take this plate over here and I'm going to screw the hotbed to it. So what I'm doing right now is putting the screw all the way through, and I'm binding it to the new plate, and this seems to be working pretty good. What I could also do too, if I wanted to, if I was going to keep this, is I can put some sort of thermal compound in between the sheets to get a better even temperature. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is peel this blue tape off and see what my plate looks like. I know I put 2 marks in this, so I'm going to show it to you in a minute, but otherwise this bed looks really good. Alright, so I'm going to peel all this. See, those are the marks right there. Okay, a little bit more on the bottom piece. Alright, polish that up. Yeah, those are probably 2 screws I had on the bed and I knocked it out. Now, this is my deburring tool. So just push it away from you, always forward, never towards you. And you'll get a nice, clean, smooth edge over here due to all the sides and all the edges. Keep going all the way around. Anything that's not smooth, you can see the new hole right over here. That worked out good right there. And it's inlaid. And here's another angle so you can actually see. So once you've done the deburring tool, what you want to do next after this is probably go over it with a small little file like this, and just really, get any nooks and burrs and whatever that's left over, and just smooth it out so you have a nice little smooth edge. And for the final step, what you should do is get some sandpaper. This is about like 600 or something like that, and just give it a little gently rub it up like that, and that should be really, really good now. Yeah. Okay, wipe the dust off of it, and that is silky smooth. Alright, so that's it for the bed. So I guess the next step we're going to have to do is clean this up a little bit, and then we're going to start mounting everything on the Z-axis and mounting the rods and